Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. An external guest, thank you for popping on today. Today we have Matt Smith talking about the 8 golden rules of UI design. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if Matt's okay with it, interrupt him. But yeah, thanks for coming, and we hope you enjoy it.
All right, we'll get started. Yeah, so I kind of struggled a little bit with what to talk about for the Lean Bites. I go out on Instagram, go out on LinkedIn, and see all these social posts about UI. I follow a lot of UI people, and there's always these posts about, oh, you're an idiot if you put the like button in a post in a feed below the photo. Like this layout is way better than the other one. All that stuff is super subjective to me. And like we don't have a lot of the context and information about like how users are using what we're using, all that data and stuff from looking and talking to folks. So I think like starting from the basics when it comes to UI design is a super good way to go. So these 8 golden rules were put together by Ben Scheiderman. He's a professor at the University of Maryland. They are straight out from his book called Designing the User Interface in 1986. Ben Scheiderman is kind of one of the founders of UX. He's one of the guys that was writing and teaching about UX and human-centered design before UX and human-centered design was really called a thing. So in my brain, it's nice for me to like be able to put context to things a little bit. It's like I could just spew to you guys about something that came from a textbook, but I really wanted to try to put the stuff that we're going to talk about today into something a little bit more tangible. And I already had the name Lean Bites, so I figured why not design and work with a pizza app because is what the internet is made for. Pushing buttons on your phone and having pizza magically delivered to you. So I'm just going to call the pizza app because I'm not creative when it comes to names, Lean Bites. So yeah, spent some time actually designing some UI interfaces to kind of illustrate some of the points we're making in a Lean Bites app. And just in case you're curious, yes, this is also me. I should be doing this presentation and I spent way too much time designing UI for a pizza app. So the first bullet point with the 8 UI best practices is consistency. So consistency, like those sequences of actions or anything on the page can be consistent in similar situations. When we say sequences, it could be navigating through different forms, or it could be just moving through different pages on the site. So things to focus on: color, layout, capitalization, and fonts. And then making sure the words that you're saying and how you're speaking to people is the same and consistent throughout too. So I think most sites and applications do a decent job of that. Like you got your navigation, you got your cart stuff on the top right. Maybe if you enter into a new process, you've got that close button on the top right too. I think just making sure that that stuff is consistent throughout an entire application and as users navigating through stuff is super important. But with the rule, there's also instances where like maybe you want to do something that's a little bit different. So if there's an important or a destructive action, like something that a user needs to know, like there are instances where you might want to get in their face, kind of buck the trend and do something a little bit different. So having a modal where like a user can cancel their order and just giving them the choice of canceling or going back, having something just super obtrusive like that is important in some instances, but it should be definitely limited. Number 2, usability for all. So we build these apps and different digital devices, different tools, and we want users to use this stuff, all users. So users that have different age ranges, disabilities, from different countries, speaking different languages. So trying to account for like the type of users that are using your app and making sure that we're doing stuff that anybody can use. So I think super important is accessibility. Doing the exercise of running some of the buttons, some of the color stuff through an accessibility and color contrast checker is super important these days. And you'd be surprised after you run those. If you just Google like accessibility contrast checker. You can plug in a foreground and background color. Super easy to run that check, and super easy to make tweaks to the colors too, to make sure that that stuff is usable and easy for anybody to see, even people with ocular disorders or anything like that. So just the example here to the right, that orange, which looks fine to me, actually fails those contrast tests, and the red at the bottom passes them. So even stuff that seems super intuitive might not be if you run them through those different devices and tools that we have. The other thing that I think is important, especially as you're developing an application that you're going to have people use over and over again, is doing a consideration for novices versus experts. This is really an oversimplification here, but giving people that come to your app over and over again a quicker way, or unlocking things for them to do that is easier than or quicker than people that are like there for the first time. So like if they already have an account, giving them the ability to sign in and quickly duplicate an order. That could even scale to like quick keys, things that are faster for people that use the app over and over again. While still having like the ease of use of stuff that is that stuff for users that are coming there for the first time. Number 3, informative feedback. For every user action, there should be feedback. So just making sure that if a user's like clicking a button or doing some interaction on the application or whatever we're building, they know that they made a change and that was successful or unsuccessful. So frequently used stuff for a pizza app example. If you're adding stuff to your cart or to your order, maybe just doing like a little checkbox and then doing a little toast at the bottom that says added to cart. Super easy and simple way of giving people feedback right away. And it's not super intrusive either. For those bigger, more substantial things, I talked a little bit about that earlier. Like you might want to get in their face a little bit more, or when they submit the order, like switching to a completely different screen, giving them something and showing them what to expect next. Number 4, giving closure. So those actions that we talked about that we need to be consistent, that can be organized in groups with a beginning, middle, and end. This gives people a sense of accomplishment and frankly relief. I don't know if I'm similar to everybody else on this call, but I have 2 kids, and sometimes just going through the process of ordering pizza on my phone is a challenge. Kind of forget where I am, and the kids need to make mods to the pizza. So like I forget exactly where I am when making those orders, even for something as simple as making a pizza. So letting users go through that process and complete it easily and be able to see exactly where they are in the process throughout gives them a sense of relief and ease of mind, and then they can prepare for the next group of actions. I don't know how many times I've gone through some of these ordering online things where you get to the very end of the process, and then you have a button to sign in to complete your order. You can't do anything without going through another process, and it's just super frustrating because you're already in the middle of something and you just want to finish it, and you want to get your kids off your back and get your pizza ordered. So maybe doing something like the place your order after the order is submitted, so a user has like this mental relief is a better approach than forcing them to do that before they've actually submitted. Preventing errors. So users are going to find a way to make mistakes and do things we didn't expect on all the stuff that we make. That's not a surprise, but we can do some things to try and make sure that they don't make serious errors. The first one is just double checking with some of the destructive actions on the site. Inappropriate stuff, if they're going through a form and they have a save button, maybe that save button is grayed out until they've filled out everything correctly, and they can't do some potentially destructive actions until they filled in things right. Form inputs, using phone number inputs or different appropriate email inputs for appropriate things, and forcing user to enter in things in the correct way is a good approach. And then if they do make a mistake, just offer simple and specific instructions for recovering. So one of the things that I love on applications is just this double check. So like if you want to delete your account on a site, maybe having something where they have to type something into an input and just make sure that they're doing that intentionally and not by accident. Reversal of actions. So any action should be as reversible as much as possible. I just talked about deleting an account is probably an action that's not reversible, but doing that risk reversal really alleviates a lot of the anxiety that the user might have going forward, and increases their willingness to proceed and move on. So for an example, if you're making a reservation for a table at Lean BYTES, you having that text there that says, don't worry, you have until October 14th to edit your reservation if things change, could really alleviate a lot of the stress that a user might have in continuing. Also from conversion rate optimization, you'd be surprised on how much text like that helps a user want to continue throughout a process. So just explaining that they have the ability to edit things and change things later is a huge relief for users. Keeping users in control. Users want to be in charge. The interface should respond to their actions. So trying to eliminate big surprises, anything that's super tedious, difficulty obtaining information that's useful to them, and giving them the inability to produce results that they might expect is also frustrating. So an example for that, just a really simple example, is if you've created if you're actually starting to go through an ordering process, like giving people the ability to edit where it's being delivered to, or edit that time, and not make them feel like they're stuck with a decision that they made initially right away. The last, number 8, is reduce memory load. So users or people can remember, they say 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information at one time. So it could be 5 to 9 pieces of information. They have a super limited capacity for short-term information. So don't make users re-enter stuff. And then keeping forms compact to a single display is usually the way to go. So trying to avoid some sort of step thing. While I love those and they look beautiful from a UI perspective, the usability isn't always there. There are actually different times where having a stepped approach may be more useful. But if you're going to do that, try to give them a way to view what they filled in the past. That would be super helpful for them to not get lost and not forget some of the stuff that they've entered before. So that is all 8 of them right there. I rolled through them super fast, and somehow I am done 2 minutes early. So does anybody have any questions? I'll first say there are links to the golden rules here, a bunch of articles out there. If you just Google the golden rules, you'll find that stuff. And I was struggling with trying to figure out exactly what to talk to. So big thanks to Barry for trying for helping brainstorm the discussion point today too. So Barry at LT, thumbs up. Anybody have any questions?